Hey guys, it's Snailbiter, and I've got another World of Tanks video here for you guys. And I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the changes that were made in the 7.5 patch that went live just yesterday. And you'll actually notice, if you're familiar with the game World of Tanks, you'll notice that this is actually a pre-7.5 patch, because the tank that I'm using in this round, the AMX 1390, would now be a tier 8 post 7.5 patch, whereas in this round I'm still a tier 7. But the reason I wanted to use this round was, one, because I really liked this round. I actually ended up getting 3 medals. I get Sniper, Top Gun, and Scout, which I thought was a pretty cool combination of medals. So I was pretty happy with this round, and I wanted to use it in a commentary, or at the very least post it as a gameplay. But I also wanted to show you guys this gameplay of the 1390, because I actually ended up selling the AMX 1390 post 7.5 patch. I played a couple rounds with it, and actually along with the 12T and the 1375, I sold those 3 tanks. And I wanted to talk a little about why, because I think that those 3 tanks in particular have been significantly weakened, I'd say, by the 7.5 patch, and I got a little lucky there. I was being a little over-aggressive with that on the T-3485. And I bounced a couple shots. I was being a little lazy with where I was shooting, and then this AMX tracks me here. So this could have been a much faster round than it was, but I was able to repair that track and back up a little bit, which was good for me. But anyway, as I was saying earlier, I think the AMX 1390 in particular, along with those other 2 tanks that I mentioned, have been weakened by this patch, because one, because they've been moved up a tier and their gun is still the same. So it's not like they're going to be able to do better damage, even though they're being matched up with higher tier tanks for the most part. And their hit points also weren't increased that much. And I mean, I know these 3 tanks are technically classified as light tanks, really, so they're not going to have as many hit points as the other medium tanks in the same tier for the other nations. So I think the AMX 1390 went from 1,000 hit points to 1,100 hit points, whereas as a tier 8, or when the Lorraine was a tier 8, it had 1,250 hit points. So it's got fewer hit points than the Lorraine used to, and I know the Lorraine is more classified as a medium tank, so it doesn't really have the same the 1390 doesn't really, or it shouldn't have the same number of hit points as a light tank. But I think what frustrated me about the changes in the 7.5 patch to these 3 tanks is that they were moved up a tier, but as light tanks, their matchmaking is still, kind of similar, in that they're still going to get matched up with higher tier tanks almost every round. In fact, I don't know this for sure, but I don't think that as a AMX 1390, I don't think you can get put into a tier 8 match. I think you're always going to get put into tier 9 at the very lowest, and even more often you're going to get put into tier 10 battles, which I think I played maybe 3 or 4 rounds with this tank post 7.5 patch, and 2 or 3 of those rounds were tier 10 battles, where I was going up against other tanks that were, I think, almost all tier 10 tanks. Especially now that there are more tier 10 tanks available for people to play, those tier 10 battles are going to be even harder for the tanks that are tier 9 or tier 8. But I think before, when there were really, at most you saw maybe 4 or 5 tier 10s in a round. Now that you have tier 10 mediums and tier 10 heavies, when you get put into one of those tier 10 battles as a tier 8 or tier 9, it's very difficult to be effective. And since the AMX 1390 didn't even, its gun is still the same, and there I think that Easy 8 shot me in the back, my own teammate, because apparently he was pissed off that I took that kill on that artillery there. But I wanted to get that because I got my Top Gun. I think it was the first time I got Top Gun with this tank. I'm not sure, I don't completely remember. But I wanted to make sure that I got that Top Gun because I was having a pretty good round up to that point. And I almost got killed because he shot me in the back there. I think Low saw me on the other side that was over by the hill that I couldn't see, but luckily he only tracked me, I think. But anyway, back to the 1390. So as I was saying, it's still essentially a tier. It's the same as it was as a tier 7, because its gun is the same, And now that you're getting put up against some, pretty high tier tanks, it's very difficult to really be able to engage in the battle. So you're really limited to playing this tank as a scout tank, which I think is kind of frustrating. I think these French tanks pre 7.5, I think that to me they felt more like a bit of a combination of a light and a medium tank, where you could really, like this round, I was really able to engage the other tanks that were in the battle, and I wasn't just solely limited to scouting, even though I was able to scout for my team. And now it just seems like your playstyle has been completely limited by this 7.5 patch, because as a tier 8 particularly for the AMX 1390, you're going to be put into those tier 10 matches quite often, and there's really not much you can do against those other tier 10 tanks, especially when there are so many of them in a round. So I ended up selling these 3 tanks, and fortunately I did, because they used to be or I bought them when they were a tier lower. I was able to get some pretty good credits out of them when I sold them, so I'll be using those credits to buy some other tanks. I bought the T20 yesterday, and I'm not sure what other tank. I want to buy the KV4, I think, as well, and I've got the Tiger 2 unlocked, so I need to get that at some point as well. But anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about the effects of the 7.5 patch on the French tanks that got moved up a tier. I think the Lorraine doesn't have as much of a problem because it's more of a medium tank. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this gameplay and the commentary, and I'll probably talk a little more about the 7.5 patch later in another video. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.